Today we're going to compare two budget phones, the Pixel 3a, honestly, wait for the 4a, and the Honor 20 Pro. The Pixel 3 does have a flagship quality camera, but only a single lens, versus just the Honor 20 Pro, which has four lenses. So let's see how they compare. So this is the low light front facing test, and I'm walking in the city at night, of course. There is a building right next to me and some streetlights above me. No cars, sadly, but yeah, let's move on to the next section. So with portrait mode, they both can do it, but the Honor 20 Pro is more flexible. You got 1x, 2x, and 3x. On a Pixel 3a, you can actually zoom in a bit and rely on the software to recognize what object to cut out. On the Pixel 3a, it's pretty zoomed in. If you want to take a picture of something in your hands, then you would have to reach out a bit. Now I know in portrait mode it has some trouble with reflective surfaces, so usually that would happen. That's why the Honor 20 Pro looks a bit too wonky. But the performance is really similar. You just point, shoot. On the Google phone you would have to rely more on software to recognize what is the cutout, so I would say that it's a bit easier, and the background blur is much more denser. On the Honor 20 Pro, it's really nice to have the telephoto lens to go up to 3x, but I realized that the focus is pretty slow, so sometimes you might miss focus or the image just ends up being blurry, or you might have to take your picture again. But at the end of the day, the Pixel 3a for me is going to be the easier one to use. For everyday situations, it's obvious that the Honor 20 Pro is going to be the better one. You got the flexibility to go ultra wide, normal, and zoom in and get much more clear pictures than zooming in on the Pixel 3a. I will give props to Pixel because that software AI does a really good job cleaning up really zoomed in images. For color wise, they're both pretty similar. I would say that the Honor 20 Pro has a bit more saturation going on, and the Pixel 3a is more aggressive on the white balancing. So since it's really trying to make things look really white, the whole image may look a bit too blue. Since the Pixel 3a does have a mid-range chip, and so you take a picture and if you want to review it right away, you do have to wait a bit, like a quick second, for it to process. If it's portrait mode or night mode, it may take a little bit longer. For HDR, I'm gonna give it to the Pixel 3a. The software does a good job trying to even things out. On the Honor 20 Pro, you can tell that it's a bit darker in the shadows. For low light on the Honor 20 Pro, I would stay away from the ultra wide and the telephoto lenses. At this point, if you're zooming in with the Pixel 3a, I think the Pixel is going to come out the winner here because the software does help sharpen things up, so it's not going to look as blurry or noisy as the Honor 20 Pro. Now that's not going to be the case all the time with the Pixel 3a because sometimes in the darker shadows, you can tell that a lot of noise is coming out of it. From my experience, taking pictures on the Pixel tend to be sharper or capture sharper moments because sometimes my head would move or the person would move suddenly, so it would end up being a really blurry result. And it does happen to all of us, and out of all the phones I've used, the Pixel line gave me the best results in those certain moments. Now they both have night modes, and I realized that the Pixel does give out the brighter image. Now it may look too fake or too forced to some people, but if you're taking a picture in dark places, I think the main priority of the picture is getting a bright one to be seeable. So in the end, it's really personal preference, but usually I don't think a lot of people would be in dark situations a lot anyways, so using night mode is pretty situational. For video, they both can shoot up to 4K 30, and of course you can use the ultra wide angle lens on the Honor 20 Pro. That is a good thing, but the stabilization on that is not doing too well. Moving on to the main camera, they both have their own quirks. The stabilization on the Pixel 3a tend to be too jerky, so it seems like it's trying to catch up to where I'm trying to turn or pan. But on the Honor 20 Pro, you can see that there's a lot more micro jitters as I'm walking. And for HDR and colors, I'm gonna give it to the Pixel because on the colors on the Honor 20 Pro looks a bit muddy and grayed out, and the video is brighter on the Pixel 3a. Moving on to low light, completely avoid the ultra wide angle lens. It's really blurry, noisy, and it just doesn't capture a lot of light. Now moving on to the main camera, they both do not do too well in low light, so either way it's not going to be good. They both have a lot of micro jitters as I'm walking, but the difference here is that the Honor 20 Pro is more aggressive with the white balancing, so the tungsten orange lights that we see tend to look more white on the Honor, so the Pixel actually shows to be more realistic or closer to the eye. So in the end, the Honor 20 Pro has a lot more flexibility and it gives you more choices in the camera modes. For the Pixel 3a, it's very easy to use, so for average consumers, it's probably better off for them because you just snap and it just looks good, and since the software does all the work, the images tend to look closer to the flagship models. So that is my comparison between these two phones. If you guys are interested, I do have the links down below. Please follow me on Instagram, give a like, subscribe, hit the bell, and thanks for watching.